Freddie Munnings will always be remembered for his entertainment empire and the fact that he was a fantastic musician himself. He was more than that. He was a trade unionist. He helped to found the Bahamas Musicians and Entertainers Union.
That's right.
He was also a politician. He was quite involved in the
behind the scenes
movement at the time. No, I mean in front of the scenes, because
no, I mean you didn't want to be an out and out.
But if you're going to turn over the Ghana room to a over the hill party called the PLP, you are making a statement. He really believed in his people and the upliftment of his people, didn't he?
Well, you know, FM Senior told me one time that he was a very young boy, and his mother was walking him down to Bay Street, going down East Street, and they were passing the store, and he saw a Greek store owner telling a young lady to lift the 100-pound sack of rice and put it in the next room or something. Now, she couldn't lift it, so he asked his mother, why would this man insist on this young girl lifting it? And of course, that was a black-white situation, and he said that disturbed him a lot. The second time, again, he said he was very popular at the time, and the restaurant, I won't call the name, said that they'll serve him because they know him, but they won't let any other blacks come in to eat. That was number two. The third time, he said, well, he was on the police force and he decided he wanted to go and join the Navy in the U.S. So he and a friend of his went over to Miami, and they went. The recruiting office was right next door to a little restaurant, and he said he felt hungry, wanted to get a sandwich. So he went into went to try to go into the restaurant, and the man told him, we don't serve niggers here, you got to go around the back. So he said to himself, he said, now here I am, I'm willing to give my life and go and fight this war, and I can't even buy a sandwich in the place that I'm going to lay my life on the line. So he said, he told his friend, well, buddy, look, I'm out of here. Now, if you want to go, that's your business, but I'm going back to Nassau. So he jumped, and of course he didn't like planes, so he got on the next boat smoking back to Nassau and came back.
Yeah.
Number four was he and Sidney Poitier, and now I'm building the story. He and Sidney Poitier were in New York. Sidney was a dishwasher at the time, and FM said he went up there because they were friends. He went up there to see him, and they were talking, and he said he was in Grand Central Station, and this white guy shined his shoes, and he gave him a tip and everything. So he felt real good about that. Said, well, the world must be changing, you know. So he said, I'm going to. He said, well, Sidney, you know, this is, I think I might move to the States because this, I just had a white man shine my shoes. And Sidney said, there don't seem to be any discrimination here in New York. So he said, Sidney told him, well, I go to work at 6 o'clock. You come to the restaurant where I am working, and I'll show you how they discriminate over here. So sure enough, he came back at 6 o'clock. Sidney took him in the back way, he's washing the dishes, told him, look out front, Freddie. He said he looked out front, people sitting at the counter, black and white, elbow to elbow, talking, having conversation. He said, now come in the back, let me show you. He said, you notice along the counter, you've got pink dishes and you've got blue dishes. All the white people eat in pink dishes, all the black people eat in the blue dishes. He said, but now, being a dishwasher, when you wash the dishes, you cannot wash the pink and the blue together. You have to wash pink by themselves, and you have to put the blue by themselves. That's how subtle it is, but that's how serious it is. So, of course, he jumped on the boat again, so he heading back to Nassau, because if
he can fight someplace.
Let him fight at home.
He's got to
fight, and that's when he started that whole situation with being an activist and trying to change things here.
Excellent photograph of your father and Martin Luther King. They were also friends. So
right.
Your father was really in there.
Again, like I said, you tell me all these stories, and sometimes I say, well, I could almost recite these stories, which I'm doing now. Maybe that was one of the reasons. But he said that Martin used to come here, and somehow someone told him about him. I think he would go on to Bimini sometimes, and then sometimes come to Nassau. And he said, he asked him, how do the Bahamians, or him along with the other Bahamians, intend to take over a country without firing a shot. I mean, because, you know, you have the discrimination and all that stuff, but how are you going to do it? And he told, well, Martin, before in your lifetime, he's going to see it happen, and he'll be there to witness it. And of course, Martin would come down a lot of times. One time I was privileged, he told me to come along with them. They're going fishing. So I said, man, and, you know, it was Saturday morning. I was about 12. We went on the boat. I ain't seen them carrying no bait. I ain't seen them get no line. Said, we going fishing. So we went on the boat, and they were there talking. And his wife, Coretta, and my mother, they were talking. I saw 2 hours went by. You know, I could have been playing basketball and suddenly seen the schoolyard. I said, no. So I went to him. I said, well, Daddy, what happened? What time we can start fishing? Yeah. He said, no, we really didn't come to fish. We just came out there to talk. But I want you to meet Martin. Yeah. And like I said, he would come down and they would spend time just talking about, you know, change. Yes. And how, and the struggle of the black man. Yes. In the United States and here in the Bahamas, and how we could make it better for everybody. So one of the things that he said that Martin pointed out to him, and they decided was, he said, well, the thing is around the early 60s, he said, you got to get your women to vote if you want to, because there are only so many men, and you know the story of,
yes.
About property and all that stuff at the time.
Yes.
And of course, I call him Daddy sometimes, I call him the old man, but the old man said, well, he decided, along with some other people like Milo Butler, mm-hmm. and Percy Munnings, said, well, now we got to find a way to employ the women of the country so they could feel independent to vote for the black men. Yeah. To be able to change the situation from the way it was in the early 60s. And there are a lot of stories like that that you can go on and on. You know, so
I enjoyed talking with him. Your father and my father were great friends. They were in business together a little bit too. And your father was fantastic. There is a story that when you graduated, your father gave you his pride and joy, which wasn't the Cat and Fiddle. It was the room he constructed next to the Cat and Fiddle. The Cat and Fiddle was a big open theater, mm-hmm. but he created this air-conditioned, covered area called the Ghana Room.
Exactly.
In commemoration of Ghanaian independence.
That's right.
And he turned it over to his son. And the first thing you did was change the name.
Yeah, well, you know, this was 1967, 68, and it was a whole new Britain. But the motif in there was, as you know, all leopard skin chairs, and on the walls they had scenes of men hunting lions in the jungle. And the first time I saw black lights, they had black lights highlighting everything. It really looked to me like a lion's den. Yeah. And so I said, man, I'm changing the name of this. Plus it was a young thing, but not to discriminate against the power of what Ghana, and the reason why he, like you say, he built that room for that purpose. I mean, he was so proud when Ghana got its independence.
Yes, I know that.
But like I said, it was it was a young thing, and he gave me the room. So I said, well, okay, we're going to change this to Lion's Den. I'm going to draw a big lion or tiger head up out of fluorescent paint, and just out of St. John's, the club took off.
It certainly took off. The vibrations took off, and you did something that your father did that caused our lives to intersect. Mm-hmm. We decided that the Young Bahamian show should be recorded every Friday afternoon at the Lion's Den.
That's right.
That was something.
Charles, I remember those days. Well, like you said, I can't remember. I know Daddy-O was there. Stephen Mitchell was. I mean, you two worked together. Yeah. You were trying to get entertainment sorted out, and he was dealing with the entrance.
Yes.
And we had a good team, and of course we had the bar at the club. So it changed the whole face.
It became a laboratory for music.
Of music in the country. That's right.
Your father had a reputation of helping most of the young musicians get started, and entertainers got started on Freddie Munnings' Cat and Fiddle stage. Mm-hmm. The Lions Den gave the next generation of musicians an opportunity to perform at the Cat and Fiddle, and also to be recorded and to be heard on
Yeah.
ZNS, because we recorded all those sessions. They were fabulous, weren't they? And everybody came from Smokey to Jay to...
I was just about to tell you,
Everybody.
actually to name drop some of the artists at the time, because like I said, every Friday,
Leon Taylor.
It would
fantastic.
It would of course we'd sell out, but the main thing was that you had a chance. Like I said, these were musicians that were just playing at or not playing at clubs would be able to get a chance to go around and perform and then play it on your show the next morning. Now I don't know how you got all that editing done in one day, overnight rather.
That's when you're young and you're idealistic and you believe in things. Never got overtime.
No.
I never believed in it, but it was fantastic. I mean, when I think back now, I mean, it's just that so many things came together, and you and I helped, I believe, to keep Bahamians interested in Bahamian music. And you and I also had some great times as well, because your band, The Vibrations, used to go with me to some of the family islands where we tried to do the same thing.
Well, you know, when I see the regattas now happening, and that was the same concept that you had, it's just that we didn't have a chance to perfect it the way it's done now. But I remember Charlie Gay at Fresh Creek, Andros, and some clubs in Abaco and Eleuthera. And we just have a good time.
I remember you guys were rehearsing over in Fresh Creek at Papa Gay's club.
That's right.
And you kicked some people out.
Yeah.
And you did not know who you kicked out. These white people came listening to the music, and one of your guys say, "Hey, can't come in here now, we're rehearsing. Come pay your money later, you could come in." Yeah. That was Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada and a musician called
Mick Jagger. Well, I didn't realize, you know, that who they were, but I went over to them. We had just brought the instruments in on the boat.
Yeah.
We were setting up and rehearsing, getting all sound check and all that. And I saw this guy dancing around. I said, "Excuse me, sir. You're going to have to leave, because when we rehearse, we don't allow anyone in the room." And so I asked him to, if he'd like to, he can come back and pay the $2 to get in that night.
Yeah.
So he did come back, dressed up in all of his fineries, and he and a young lady, I think it was Bianca at the time.
Yeah.
And so the next day he invited my cousin, Dr. Off, and I to come over. They had a 3-mast schooner over at the Lighthouse Club. So we went over there, and I had just one record of Funky Nassau, because it hadn't been released yet. And so we played it for him on the boat, and man, he went crazy. He said, "Wow, you gotta," he said, "Give me this record to take back to London. I'm with Atlantic Records. I said, "No, sir, you can't. This is the only one we have. We have to start our parties with this. This would keep us going." So I say, you know, but I appreciate the offer. But somehow we still wound up with on Atlantic Records.
Isn't that amazing? Hey,
but I told him, well, plus I didn't trust him.
No.
I think he might.
Well, you had to learn the business.